live from New York, it's Ask This Engineer.
Hey everybody, it's back to pink-haired engineer time.
That's right.
I hope you enjoyed your not pink-haired engineer time, but I'm back on my bullshit and
The foliage of a Ladyada changes throughout the season, so it's summertime. Here we are.
Hi, like an orchid. Okay, so we've got an exciting show jam-packed with goodies. Many of them are pink and purple as well. So you can look forward to that. And new products, and we're back to having codes, and we're back to having little
Weird
video
art
clips,
stuff.
Weird art stuff. So
I'll say this: as the crisis has relented a little bit, at least here in New York, and for parts of our lives, it's still not over yet. You can start to have other parts of your brain come back. And I was talking to a person here at Adafruit, and I said, for like 18 months, I didn't have the melodies that I used to have in my head for the songs that we would do with Circuit Playground, our puppet series, or there was like art stuff I wanted to do, and just like it was just gone because it was all about like keep everyone safe. Eventually it was about vaccination. Before that it was like let's make face shields for the city, let's make feathers for the ventilator project that they needed them for, and you really can't do art.
No, there was
or anything.
Art. Yeah.
So we have some fun art stuff and more. We've been writing some more articles. We've had a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
So thanks for sticking with us all these months, and I hope you'll enjoy the shows that we have coming up soon, including the one tonight.
All right, what's this code?
On tonight's show, the code is README. We'll talk about why, but use the code README on checkout, 10% off anything that's in stock in the Adafruit store, all the way up until when I remember to turn it off, probably around 11 o'clock tonight. We'll talk about our Adafruit live series of shows, including Show and Tell. You should check that out on all of our video channels. Time travel, look around the world of makers, hackers, artists, engineers, stuff that's going on, and more. A little bit of jobs from the Adafruit jobs board, jobs.adafruit.com. Post up your skills, or if you're a company, post up the job so you can find the talent that you are looking for. Main New York City factory footage, some scenes here from Adafruit, some 3D printing, everyone's favorite segment, Ion MPI, new product introductions, brought to you by DigiKey and Adafruit. We got some new products, we got some top secret. We answer your questions. We do that at the end of the show, but you can load them up there, adafruit.it/discord. Join all 29,000 of us. We'll be up to 30,000 soon. All that and more on, you guessed it, Ask an Engineer.
Yeah.
Alrighty, let's start paying some bills.
Let's do this.
So don't forget, codes README. When you add stuff to your cart, you get free stuff.
$99 or more, you get a free PermaProto half-size breadboard. People love them for making their projects permanent. $149 or more, you get a free STEM QT board. We have a range of about 20 boards we give away. Make an account, and you'll get a different one each time. How fun is that? $199 or more, you get free UPS ground shipping in the continental United States. And $299 or more, you get a free Circuit Playground Express, our favorite development board with everything built in. You don't even need to do any soldering. Jump right into writing code with MakeCode, code.org, CS Discoveries, Arduino, or our favorite CircuitPython.
We do a bunch of live shows, including this one. We just finished up the Show and Tell. On the Show and Tell, we had our entire team, or some of them, showing off some of the projects they did. And then we had a bunch of folks from the community. The show lasts about a half an hour. We've been doing this for over a decade.
Go check it out.
Go check it out on any of our channels and
Get
more.
inspired.
And if you have a project that you've built with Adafruit stuff or not even Adafruit stuff, come on by. We also do retro hardware, a little bit of everything. And some of the projects, some of the projects, Mark has been coming back and showing this lamp project.
3D printing,
there was an
abandoned
lamp for 4 years.
Lamp.
His friends, everyone wanted to throw this lamp out. They put it on his porch, I guess.
This lamp was unloved.
Unloved, but now this is the most special lamp in the world.
He saw the light.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
And now it's this beautiful like RGB LED lamp. So,
looks great. And you got the really nice diffusion.
Yeah. So check out a lot of the show and tells too for project ideas. On Sunday, we do Desk of Ladyada. The first part of Desk of Ladyada is catching up on some of the stuff we were making. What did you show this week?
Okay, I talked about the AT Tiny 81X series and UPDI, which is the way you program, the single wire way to program and debug these chips. And I showed that I found some awesome code by a GitHubber named Brendan something, I can't remember. They posted a programmer code that implemented UPDI in Arduino for the ESP, and I've been sort of porting it over to our library, and so I just went through the process of showing how UPDI works and how awesome it is. And I think I got signature data back from the chip, so I'm halfway done.
And then we do a segment called The Great Search, which has been really handy because there has been chip shortages and more. And one thing, Jepler is in the chat, and he said, hey, Hug Report, thanks for mentioning that lead time thing, because we name-checked them. We love when people tell us stuff, and we love giving credit, we love name-checking, because we're just like, hey, like, this is how...
I didn't know about this page.
This is how humankind transferred information for the longest time. And here's the other thing I've learned. Just because you know something doesn't mean someone else doesn't. And I think that's one of the things that we could all do better. It's like, hey, here's this cool thing. Especially when you have a thriving community of electronics enthusiasts and open source folks. The whole point is to share this. So what was your pick of the week this week?
So this week I was working on some real-time clock breakouts, and I talked about coin cell battery holders. There's two kinds. There's kind of the slide in the side style, and there's the snap onto the top style. And so I showed off both, which ones I like. I've used both, and I showed where and when I use either one. As well as showing how you can get them on DigiKey, and a couple of things to look for, especially if you're using multi-battery pack coin cells, like you're stacking them up.
All right. Next up, JP's product pick of the week. This is one of the few, if not only, shows on the internet that broadcasts live from our product page. And we have a discount that's on the product itself. It's broadcast inside the product page. And you can do everything on the product page. You don't need to leave the product page. And JP shows you everything about it. So let's show a clip from this week's JP's product pick.
The 24LC32 EEPROM breakout. This is some memory that you can write information to, and it's not going to go away when you pull the power on it. So what I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and plug in one of my EEPROM breakouts, and nothing fancy, I'll just reset the board. And now when it restarts, you'll see it loaded in the first 4 bytes of information on the EEPROM. So it looked at address 0, 1, 2, and 3, and from that it grabbed these hex values. So what are those? Those are the RGB values of a number of neopixels. So now what I can do is go ahead and unplug that, just like a game cartridge, plug in a different one, and again, I'll just go ahead and reset. And now we've loaded in some different values right off of the chip there. That's the product pick of the week. It is the 24LC32 EEPROM breakout on I2C Stemma QT form factor.
All right, JP's workshop is tomorrow. You can watch that. And if you watch the show and tell, you'll see some of the things that he's usually going to show, but we have a clip. So we're going to play the clip, and then we're going to hop over to CircuitPython parsec. Take it away, JP, and then we'll play these back to back.
For the CircuitPython parsec today, what I wanted to talk about is formatting strings along with numbers inside of your code. Sometimes you want to just simply print out to the serial or the REPL or to a display some information, and you want to format it nicely. So here are a couple of ways that you can do it. In the main loop of the program, what I'm doing is creating 3 variables named number 1, number 2, and number 3. And those are numbers that are created using this random.randint and then a range. Then the next thing that happens is I go ahead and I print out the phrase that you see here below, random combo is, and then a number like 29 left, 15 right, 6 left, as if we're generating numbers for a combination lock. I'll go ahead and run that so that it is updating in real time. So you can see it waits 4 seconds, and then it's going to go ahead and repeat that, except this time it's generated a new number. Now, what you can see about the way I am formatting this print statement is that it is kind of long and a bit confusing to deal with sometimes, especially when you look at all these commas. I wanted to do things like have the word random combo is, then a number, then the word left, then a comma, and then quotes, and then another comma. So it's totally doable, but it can get a little confusing. So here's an alternate method. And this right here, I think, is a little more manageable sometimes. Here you can see I have the whole phrase as I want to see it. Right here says random combo is, and then I'm using this %d, which means we're going to go outside these quotes and grab the first variable as an integer number and plop that in. Then I have the word left. Then I go and do the same for the next one. I grab this number 2, then the word right, comma, and then the third one, and I go and grab number 3. So you can see if I save the code right now, it's going to refresh, and it looks the same. It actually prints out the same type of statement, but it's really nice and clear and concise, both the way it prints out, but also the way we deal with it. If you have to change any variables here later, it's nice and neat and easy to understand. And that is one way that you can format your print statements inside of CircuitPython. And that is your CircuitPython parsec.
Friday Deep Dive with Scott, and this week, special guests Scott and Jimmo from MicroPython.
Yes.
And this is, I haven't met Jim in person yet, so I don't have a photo, but I have their GitHub repo. So check that out. Friday, Scott's gonna, I think, explore a bug together.
Oh.
And they're gonna do this on Scott's show.
It's like a little play date.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's a CircuitPython, MicroPython play date.
The other thing that's neat is with CircuitPython, is it 7? Yeah, 7. With CircuitPython 7, the great merge has happened. So there's a lot more
collaboration.
Syncing up with MicroPython and CircuitPython, and that allows us to do a lot more collaboration together. And this is all good. So check that out on Friday.
Okay.
Next up, time travel, look around the world, makers, hackers, artists, and engineers. First up, this was Phil B's home for abandoned computers or something like that.
Yeah.
This is a video from Phil B of the week, retro hardware and more.
I have no self-control. Some people adopt every stray animal they see. I adopt old computers. Sometimes you find a deal at a flea market or a yard sale and you bring it home, plug it in, you get a power light but no video. There's a couple of common causes for this, and in some of these 8-bitters, like a Commodore or this Atari, if it's one of the custom chips, that's bad news because you're going to have 2 or 3 machines that you mash together to maybe get one working one. But if it's the RAM, it's an easy fix. And all you need to troubleshoot this is leave the machine on for about 5 minutes and then give it the finger. Any bad RAM chips will be hot to the touch. RAM chips like the 4164 are dinosaurs, but they're still easy to come by. I found these at Jameco for about $1.50 a piece. Swap out the RAM and you're ready to play Miner 2049er.
All right.
I love these top tips.
It's Python on hardware time.
Yeah.
Okay, so first up.
Wait, did you mean to skip this one?
Yes,
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm doing this one first.
Sorry.
Python on hardware, then I'm going to skip back to
I apologize.
No, it's okay. So there's a lot of Python stuff going on.
I know.
Yeah.
Sorry. Ignore me.
No, it's fine. I went out of order.
That's fine.
So this is a little snapshot of the newsletter. A little bit of a reminder. Big news for CircuitPython
It's
is
a snaky date.
it's CircuitPython Day,
Look at
and
the
it's
snakes.
8/6/2021. It's a Friday.
Yep.
And at Adafruit, there's no public holidays in August, so we decided it's a day off for our team. It's a float holiday if they want, but we'll have at 1 p.m. so far on Friday. It's going to be Kattni, Jeff, Dan. At 3 p.m. you're going to do a board tour.
Board tour.
Scott's going to do a deep dive, and then we're going to add some more CircuitPython folks throughout the day,
Yep.
and then we'll have some things for people to do. So
Yep.
if you have a CircuitPython project,
It's a great time to show it off. Come by the Discord.
Yeah.
You want to contribute. You want to have a bug fix. Do you want to test out the latest releases?
yeah.
CircuitPython Day.
And everything's recorded, so you don't have to worry about missing it. You can always watch it later. Okay, Scott was on the Talk Python to Me live stream. This was with Damien,
Yay.
founder of MicroPython, Scott CircuitPython. And check it out. Really good listen. Michael Kennedy is an excellent podcaster, and you can hear all sorts of things that have happened with MicroPython and CircuitPython. And I got through most of it. I have to still listen to the last bits, but I thought it was interesting about how both Damien and Scott come at, I think, this like Python experience in 2 different ways, but you could tell how well it's mashed and merged together now, especially with how we're doing things with our sensors and how we're doing things with peripherals, and how there's this like really powerful Python thing, this virtual machine that Damien made. So anyways,
Yeah.
I thought it was neat to kind of watch them,
It's good.
two of them together, and talk about how a lot of these things work.
We also released 7.00 Alpha 4. A lot of stuff is
Yeah.
changing in 7, but there's a lot of good fixes as well. I mean, we're just cramming 7 full of so many updates and fixes. It's going to be a very big update,
Yep.
but also a very good update.
There's a Moo beta. You can check that out. It's one of the editors that people like to use. I have some newsletter statistics. I'll talk about that in a second. And then the Python art, which I'm going to skip back to. There's a lot of neat things you can do with Python,
Keeps,
like
keeps.
like making keyboards with it, or doing art with it, or
Robotics.
yeah, making games, or you name it, you could probably do it with Python right now. And so that's why we're excited about all the things going on in the world of Python and hardware. So this
forget CircuitPython Day.
newsletter,
Yeah.
don't forget the CircuitPython Day. But this newsletter
Put on your calendar.
is pretty popular, and I wanted to go over some stats
Oh
with it
yeah,
real
we
quick.
have the stats report.
Yeah, so we were trying to figure out, we kind of knew things were still going okay, but we were just trying to figure that out. So I'll just give you the high level stuff. So we're almost up to 9,000 subscribers. Please consider joining at Adafruit Daily. We don't spam.
How much do you have to pay?
0.
It's free.
We don't spam. We don't do weirdo tracking. We don't. I was reading a person's blog that I like, and they were like, online commerce is terrible because you go to a website and now you're signed up for a newsletter. Nothing ever works out. Computers are like, their fans start spinning because there's so many frameworks and things loading in, and I'm just like, wow, like we did, I think, a really good job with our newsletter because we keep it separate from the store experience. So anyways, we're almost up to 9,000 subscribers. Year over year growth, we did the quarterly thing, 12% quarter 1, 10% quarter 2 so far. It gets a little bit harder, but this is a lot of people for a newsletter that's kind of hard to sign up for. We don't go out of our way, and this is people that are interested. So we'll see. We want to get to like about 10,000. We think that's where it'll be in a good spot. But please send in the content and consider subscribing to the Python and Hardware News. And then $5.4 million.
What's that all about?
What do you think this bought?
A Virgin Galactic flight? I don't know.
No, it bought an NFT of the first internet. This is
Source
the
code for the www.
source code for the World Wide Web. Tim
Oh,
Berners-Lee.
is it like he scrolls through all the code for 30
Yeah,
minutes?
so Tim Berners-Lee goes through this code, and this was sold for. This is not crypto. I guess they could have paid in crypto, but it was 5.4 million. And before everyone freaks out, this is what he said. I'm not selling the source code. I'm selling a picture that I made with a Python program that I wrote myself.
Hey, that's why it's in the Python hardware section.
And I'm saying that this might be the most expensive Python program ever made. 5.4 million, and you get a copy of this. And you can go to the Sotheby's site and just see exactly. That's one of the things about these NFTs. I said, for
Should throw
5.4
in-
million, you should throw in a next box where it was actually developed.
Oh,
So anyways, that's the Python and Hardware News. All of us can endeavor to sell a Python program for $5.4 million. You just have to invent the World Wide Web.
And that's Python hardware. Thank you, Blinka.
Yeah. All right, we're an open source hardware company, and here's a little snippet from the README podcast, which you did, which is why the code is README.
Oh.
So this is a little audio. The marketing folks over at GitHub said, "Hey, we have this podcast coming out."
I just rambled for 45 minutes. Dude. They didn't even get a word in.
Here's a little snippet from Ladyada, then we'll talk about it on the other side.
I think it's actually better to try to teach and present electronics engineering from the top down. There's a problem you're trying to solve, and what skills and technologies do you need to solve it?
Okay, and today you were part of the GitHub internal keynote thing, and I'll say
The same thing. It was just me rambling 15 minutes and they didn't get a word in.
your rambles are good.
Well, that's why you're married to me.
Yeah.
But not everyone.
You
Yeah.
give really good wisdom out there about how things could work at GitHub, how we can make computer science better together. There's a lot of things.
Yeah, I just don't care.
Well, no, it's not.
No, I mean, I care so much that I don't care. If other people care.
I think a person had said
It's a caring
they
sandwich.
really liked listening to your talk because you were very direct and honest about what we can all do to make computer science better and easier for folks. So anyways, this is a bit of a big deal. I wanted to show the site that they put together. This is on github.com/readme/podcast. I think either one of those gets
And I
there.
have a couple of people
Yeah,
on the
but check
podcast.
this out.
Check it
They like, here you are. They did this thing.
That's me younger. I don't do that anymore.
They have a transcript, a full transcript. They have great interviews with all sorts of folks, and this is like a really neat like. Let me go to the. Let me see if I can go to the README project homepage. You're on the like homepage right now. Look at this.
Yeah,
This is really neat.
yeah.
So everyone can check this out, and I'll say, just outsider looking in to the cultural initiatives they're doing at GitHub, which is now part of Microsoft, they're doing a really good job. Maybe things will change later, but I'll just say, from our point of view, from my point of view, I think GitHub is doing a lot of good stuff right now, especially in how they're trying to get a lot of different voices.
They are trying really hard. I
And-
think they
yeah.
recognize, and I talked about this in the video, which is not going to be public, but also in this README. The biggest challenge of GitHub is social. It's not code. Yeah, I mean, like we could always make Action CI a little faster, and we could, have searching in forks. But like the biggest challenge that GitHub has to deal with is when you have a community of millions of developers together. You're now at a party with millions of developers, and that is not necessarily a fun place to be.
Or
And how do you manage it? How do you get people to work together when there is no overarching structure? It's a self-organized
Yeah.
community, and like hundreds of thousands of self-organized community that are like interacting with each other. This is like multiple player RPG,
yeah.
but
So, anyways,
code.
I thought this was great, and
Good luck.
they did a really good job with all of the interviews that they've been doing, and we got to tune into their internal all-company meeting, and full speed ahead. Good work, GitHub. Credit where credit is due. Next up, I wrote an article.
I helped. It's my fault too.
And this is about, this is a follow-up. So there is a patent troll that's going after companies, and they're going after companies that sold a PCDuino years ago for a patent that's already expired. And so the way it works, and Ladyada will probably say this in a better way than I can, but you can tell me. So ARM is a licensing company. They say, give us money because we're going to give you this IP, and you don't have to worry about people suing you because like we took care of all of that. We
In
developed all of
theory,
it.
that's how it should work. I
Right.
don't know because I can't see the contracts because they're under NDA.
Right.
However, from their SEC filing, ARM seems to imply that when you license their IP from them, they will indemnify you from any patent or intellectual
Yeah.
property lawsuits based on their IP, which, in my opinion, and I'm not a lawyer and I have nothing to do with this case and I have no insight to this, so I'm just totally mouthing off.
Yeah.
ARM is the people who should be invalidating this patent.
So ARM has the IP of the chip. NXP makes a chip with it. NXP sells this
It
Freescale
doesn't- yes, but
chip to
NXP has
PCDuino.
nothing to do with it. It's-
yeah.
it's ARM. It's
no,
ARM
I'm just
IP.
saying, but this is the chain of events.
Yes.
The chain of events is ARM has this IP. NXP says, great, and we want to buy this thing and make a chip with it. Great. Here's a Freescale ARM 9.
Yeah.
A9. And then LinkSprite, PCDuino put it on a board, and then
And SparkFun sold,
SparkFun
so
sold
SparkFun
it.
is like 5
Yeah.
levels of indirection away from the intellectual property.
And-
Yet they're the ones being sued for intellectual
Yeah.
property because this patent troll is like a teeny bit smart. They have like 4 brain cells, and their 4 brain cells say we should be suing the small company that
Yeah.
may or may not even have in-house counsel and not ARM.
Well, they're-
which is
their
literally
goal is just to
made
get
of lawyers.
settlements really fast. So
But I'm saying they should be squished, and ARM should be squishing them. So
Yeah.
ARM, go squish.
So, we checked with our lawyers about this, and this
Or
is
license it if it's a valid patent.
and we checked with our lawyers before we published this article that I'm going to talk about in a second, because it's not a great idea to like taunt the bear, like, hey, patent trolls. But this is actually a big issue, and we had a patent troll come after us, but because there was indemnification in one of the service we use. So basically, this
And also, when you get sued by a patent troll, you immediately have to sign NDAs and non-disclosures to get any information.
Yeah.
It's all bullshit, so you can't talk about it. So we can talk about this because we're not involved.
Yeah. So for one of the patent trolls that came after Adafruit was really scary. They're like, we invented search, and they're like, give us $1 million now, or we're gonna like sue you, and then we're gonna get like $2 million. And it's like, it was nuts. And there was a bunch of prior art. And the search stuff that we have, we use different services, and there's indemnification in it. It did go away, but it's always really scary when it's like, well, I guess we're going to be in court forever.
Anyways, check out the article.
Yeah, so check out this article. And here is what I sent over to ARM. So you're probably asking yourself, well, you're probably not, but in my version of how folks look at our articles, you're probably asking yourself, hey, Phil, you're the type of person that probably has a contact at ARM. Why didn't you just email their legal department and ask what's up? I did. So here's the questions I asked ARM, and this is the article. You can read it on our site. Has ARM had a chance to look at suit that was filed against SparkFun? Link to it. Does ARM think this suit has any merit? Has ARM licensed its IP for use in their cores? When companies license ARM for their microcontrollers or microcomputer cores, does ARM identify the licensee against patent suits? And you're probably thinking, boy, this would be great to hear from ARM. They have nothing to lose. There's no reason for them not to educate the public, but
And
they
should
said,
sort of step up and be like, hey,
yeah.
there's a reason we're a multi-billion-dollar company is that we will protect our licensees.
Right. So their response to all 4 questions was, ARM does not comment on pending litigation. So I have the article up. You can check it out. We looked at their SEC filing that has an indication that this is one of the things that they might consider doing, because it's kind of like the promise of the whole business model.
Well, what's the point? Like, why give them money if they don't?
Yeah, so we'll see. And this isn't a ding on ARM. I know people at ARM, like this is...
It's not.
This is not the engineering side of ARM. This is the marketing and communication and the legal
No,
side.
I actually think ARM is a juggernaut, and I just want to kind of like unleash the juggernaut.
Okay.
Because I really don't like this troll, and I think ARM can like go in and make a difference for
They could do a lot of good work for the...
for small companies and makers and open
for
hardware.
For everyone. If they went in, like Newegg does a really good job at squishing some of the patents. They'll fight them. It would be good for ARM to say, look, enough's enough with these patent trolls coming after people for expired patents, for things that were sold 5 years ago, for resellers 5 clicks down the food chain too.
Yeah.
Anyways, so speaking of open source hardware, we're an open source hardware company. We have 2,506 guides. Ladyada,
Yeah.
what are the guides on the big board this week?
We actually have a couple updated guides, but the new guides we have this week are the 3D printed stand for the MacroPad RP2040. Thank you, Noah and Pedro, for putting that together. We got the automatic naughty cat detector using Lobe. Microsoft Lobe makes it really easy to do vision recognition with your Raspberry Pi 4 and a camera and TensorFlow, which is awesome. And so Melissa made a thing that detects when cats are on her kitchen counter, and it will jingle some keys. Although the motor that jingles the keys is already loud and scary enough. And then Jepler made Jep Calculator, or Click Calculator. It's a desk calculator written in CircuitPython, and it looks really cool. It has custom keycaps. Want to watch the video?
Yes, we have a cat video.
This machine learning project uses the Adafruit Braincraft and Microsoft Lobe to detect if cats are on the counter. When a cat is detected, the keys will start jingling just a little bit. And then after 3 attempts, if the cat is still there, the keys will start jingling a little bit harder. When multiple cats are detected, then it will instantly start jingling the keys hard in order to get them both off the counter. Once no cats are detected anymore, it will go back into sentry mode. This project uses a custom 3D printed stand that houses a servo to hold a wheel with keys attached to it in order to jingle them. Check out the Adafruit Learn system for a guide on how to build this.
Okay, and tonight I'm skipping around a little bit. For the Python on hardware newsletter, we had a little bit of art this week.
Yeah.
So I wanted to show folks what I was playing around with. This is this VQ GAN thing plus clip, and it's this AI.
It runs on Colab,
Runs on Colab, which is interesting.
which is great. You don't have to install Bazel.
Yeah, and we've had some experience with like training AI models and machine learning. I try to stay away from AI and ML for things that are like already covered, and people are like doing like military stuff and like face recognition. Like, don't want to do that. So I like to do like art stuff usually with AI and ML. So this came out. I did a little blog post about it. It was from this website that I really like. And let me find the browser. So this is the generating images from an internet grab bag. So this is a website, I think it's called AI Doing Weird Things. AI Weirdness, generating images from internet grab bag. So this is neat. So the person who did this, they just typed in a car driving down a desert road in Monument Valley, and this is what the AI came up with. And like, that's pretty close. And so I'm just like, well, I want to try this out. And so I did. And what I first did was I'm like, well, my first experiment will be Adafruit. And the Adafruit one's really weird because it actually looks like Adafruit. There's fruit in the background. The electronics grew out of this, and like pink hair came out of it. And I made, and when you make these,
Looks a little bit like me.
it does. It looks like a cosplay project on like a desk around here. And here's a little video of it like thinking along the way. So I wanted to show this, all made with Python. It's kind of cool, but here it is. Super freaky. Also, that music was generated by AI too. And then I made another one, Adafruit Industries, and it made this. And this also looks like you. So like the visions, you know, like
Kill me.
yeah, it's
like
like
I'm borged out or
it's like
something.
one of the Ripleys that didn't make it in like Aliens.
Yeah.
So then I'm just like, well, let me try some other stuff. So this was CircuitPython.
Okay.
And this is taking the words and using this thing called clip and then taking this other thing.
Okay.
This is Cat Computer.
I like this one because it's a little cat computer.
This is Mickey Mouse in the style of Basquiat, and that looks exactly, I mean, to me, I'm just like, that looks like it. This is Mickey Mouse in the style of Andy Warhol. And then this is season finale of Loki. So I wanted to like,
This is a total
I
spoiler.
wanted to wire this up with like Twitter trends. So
Yeah,
with, like,
that'd be funny.
here's what like computers spit out. So anyways, that's just some of the art that we've been doing with Python and more. So you can check that out.
Okay.
All right, next up, a little bit of an announcement. We have less than 100 slots open for AdaBox. Please, please, please.
And it's shipping really, really soon. Like really, really, really soon. So if you want to get in, you got to book it like today.
Yeah.
Like today.
So go to adabox.com. I'm going to drop some links in the chat. We have less than 100. We will be running out shortly. These go really fast at the end. It's going to be good. It'll be something that will probably be out of stock and we'll be able to get for a while because these are, you know, usually tied to our...
Yeah, if there's a chip shortage, AdaBox gets the priority. So if there's something new and you want it...
It does. So
like in
I'm going to
AdaBox.
put this in the chats now, adabox.com. And please consider signing up because we'll be out. And then people are like, oh, I wish you weren't out. Okay, next up. We have some Colin Labs videos. Usually every day, Monday through Friday, Colin has some videos of showing and sharing some tips, electronics, cool things you didn't know about and more. Take it away, Colin.
Though you may consider them a tool for mechanical engineers, calipers are surprisingly versatile for makers of all types. By gently closing the larger set of jaws, one can measure an object's outer diameter. Just make sure the flat sides are flush against the object's surface. For a more careful adjustment, you can move the jaws around the object using the thumb wheel. Similarly, fully spreading the smaller set of jaws within an opening lets you measure inner diameter. And you can measure depth by holding the flat end of the calipers against a surface and rolling the thumb wheel to extend this metal post down into the bottom of a cavity. Most digital calipers even let you choose between measuring in inches or millimeters. Personally, I enjoy millimeters. There are a lot of different types of capacitors out there, and no shortage of variables to consider when picking one out. For example, ceramic, the very classic and most common capacitor. Ceramics are non-polarized, cheap to produce, and available in values from picofarads up to about 10 microfarads, and occasionally 100 microfarads, but they get pretty pricey at that point. Ceramics are great for high-frequency filtering and decoupling. Electrolytic capacitors can have massive values, and they're super cheap. They're often polarized, so they must be connected correctly, and their capacitance is most effective at signals below 100 kHz. On top of that preference for low frequency, they can also dry out over time and malfunction. Good to know.
All right, next up, some main New York City factory footage. All right, and here is a sunrise or sunset right outside our windows. The cranes, there's more cranes outside. And as you can tell, Disney's growing. All of the, if you watched Black Widow over the weekend.
That's where your $29 went.
That's where it went. All right, 3D printing. We're gonna play these back to back. We have a video from Noam Pedro and a speed up from Noam Pedro. Very timely for the speed up if you're into the Marvel Universe.
Hey, what's up folks? In this video, we're taking a look at the Adafruit MacroPad RP2040. This is for folks looking to make a custom MacroPad with mechanical key switches. It's designed to be super customizable and easy to use with both Arduino and CircuitPython. Based on the Raspberry Pi RP2040, this has an OLED rotary encoder, 12 key switches with NeoPixels, and 8 megabytes of flash. The starter kit comes with Kalebox switches, clear keycaps, and key plates for making an enclosure. We designed a stand that features a print-in-place hinge for making an articulating kickstand. This elevates the keys so they're easier to press and a bit more ergonomic. It's pretty minimal and can be 3D printed without any support material. To assemble your MacroPad, start by just adding a few switches to the key plate. Then line up the pins with the sockets and then carefully press them into place. Now you can proceed to install more switches, being very careful not to bend any of the pins. The switches are oriented with the LED slot lined up with the onboard NeoPixels. Be sure to check all of the switches are fully seated so they're installed correctly. The bottom plate is reversible and features silkscreen artwork by Phil B. Paint Your Dragon. To secure the bottom plate, line up the mounting holes and fasten the M3 screws. The keycaps are easily installed by press fitting them onto the stem of the key switches. If you'd like to customize your MacroPad, you can use a keycap puller to swap out the switches and keycaps. To power up the MacroPad, just connect it to your computer with a USB-C cable. CircuitPython makes it easy to create keyboard projects with the new MacroPad library. To install CircuitPython, head over to circuitpython.org and look for the MacroPad RP2040. Choose your preferred language from the dropdown and click on the Download You Have 2 button. To get into bootloader mode, you'll need to use the boot and reset buttons together. Start by pressing down on the rotary encoder. While holding it down, press and release the reset button on the side of the board. Keep holding down on the rotary encoder until the USB drive shows up. When it does, you can release it. Now you can drag and drop the file to flash the firmware. It'll automatically restart the board and load as a CircuitPython USB drive. Check out the Hotkeys Learn guide to get your macro pad set up with your favorite keyboard shortcuts. Click on Download Project Bundle to get the code and all of the libraries and dependencies. To upload, simply drag and drop the code file and libraries onto the board's USB drive. The demo code handles all the heavy lifting, so you can easily create your own macros. Just modify the existing file or create your own using this as a template. You can switch between different macro configurations using the rotary encoder. And there you have it, a quick look at the MacroPad RP2040. We hope you're inspired to check out CircuitPython for your next keyboard project.
And don't forget, every single Wednesday you can learn how to make all this stuff and more with Noah and Pedro. All right, Lady, it is time.
Yes.
New product introduction. This
I
week
keep
it's
confusing new
Stuart.
products.
That's right. Brought to you by DigiKey and Adafruit.
It's
Stuart
been a
Connector.
very long day.
Yeah.
Okay, but
It's technically it is new because it's NPI.
it is new.
Yeah.
But I'm
We're gonna do new products.
Scattered day. Okay, so
What
new
you got?
products today is from Stuart Connector, which is like a subset of Bell, and it's simple but effective. We've got some IP67 USB cable adapters from Stuart. So these are the Type A cable assemblies. I'm assuming they'll have the Type B and Type C coming out shortly. They've got them in a bunch of different configurations. And what I like about this is, you know, a lot of times when you're making a product or a design, eventually you have to ruggedize it or like weatherproof it. But it's really hard to get like individual components that are weatherproof or ruggedized. Like for example, if you want to include your Raspberry Pi computer into a product and you want to have it be outdoors or like a part of signage, you know, you've got these USB ports, but these USB ports are not rated for like anything. They're incredibly delicate. It's a totally exposed computer, and that's what makes it really inexpensive, right? I mean, you can get ruggedized computers, but they're going to be a lot more pricey because they have all the enclosure stuff built in. But if you want to use common off-the-shelf hardware like Raspberry Pi or Arduino or BeagleBone, you can grab that and you'll see everything's exposed. It's not weatherproof. And then you can get parts that are rated for weatherproofness and ruggedness. And to do that, you check out the IP rating, the ingress protection ratings, not related to TCP/IP, totally different. And by looking at the dust and water ingress, and you can see on the left and the right here, the left is the dust rating, and it goes from 0, no dust protection, all the way up to 6, which is dust tight. And then on the right, it goes from no water protection at all to like jets of water and like dunking in water and long-term immersion water, and then finally like high temperature water. Like it's more detailed. And for these cables, they are IP67. So that means that they are dust proof, and you can dunk them in water, but you know, you don't want to have them in water for a very long time. Like they're not meant for pools or aquariums where it's like long-term you know, water dunking. But you can, you know, if they get wet and they, you know, go into a puddle or something, or somebody accidentally spills water on them, they're okay. And that's important because if it doesn't have an IP rating, you can't guarantee, there's no testing, there's no guarantee. You don't know if it, you know, it looks like it's going to survive outdoors, doesn't mean anything. You need to have it be rated. So you have these come in a couple different configurations. This is like the panel mount socket, and this, you can see there's the blue inside. That means it's USB 3.0. And then there's this, which is USB 2, that's like the white plastic on the inside. And this is the part that plugs into that socket. And then, they have like this, which is, an extension cable style. And you can see it has a nice cover as well. So they have like 6 or 7 different cable configurations. Pick the one that, you need for your project. You'll panel mount it. The panel mounting goes into an enclosure that is weatherproof. And then once the 2 cables are plugged together and assembled, it's IP67. So there's all these different parts. Check them out. Like I said, there's 2.0, 3.0. There is the socket and plug type, and there's 3-foot and 6-foot alternatives. Each one comes with very nice detailed specification sheets with all the cutouts and shapes and lengths and pinouts and all that good stuff. And this is another one, another cable example.
Available on DigiKey.
Yes, and I'll show it over on the overhead as well. Again, there's a couple different versions. I just picked one to show off here. So let's go to the overhead, and I'll show you. So this is a combo. Here, I'll show you this. 1 second. So when you unscrew this part, this plugs into here. So this would be what you connect on the other side of your single board computer, like your Raspberry Pi, and this could be, data or power or whatever. You plug it in, and then there's, there's an O-ring here, and then you just have to screw this in, and it gives you not only, again, that water and dust protection, but it's, of course, also strain relieved because it's like so strong and ruggedized. And then I like that little details, like they have it say USB here, so you know what it is, because once it's in this, of course, you can't tell. And there's like epoxy on the back, and altogether like a very nice cable kit. Just makes it really easy. You want to make your project ruggedized, you don't have to, you can use off-the-shelf components and then toss these cables in and you're good to go.
All right, you can check out the short URL here. It's also in the chat, and you'll have a recap of this on our blog with all the information and more in the next day or so. And that is this week's Eye on MPI.
Eye on MPI.
All right, Ladyada, before we do new products, codes README, do it. Also, don't forget, AdaBox. Code doesn't count for that. Get an AdaBox. After I announce it, we have like 20% less than we had before, so get on it. Here we go with new products.
Okay.
All right, first up, this is coming soon.
Okay, these adorable pastel-y, like tropical pina colada alligator clips are from Leborg. They made a big run of them and they had some extras. We picked them up. They're coming soon in the shop.
Yeah, cool independent maker that does all sorts of neat things. We saw these and we're like, let's get them.
I love that they're just like, it's not just normal red, orange, yellow, green, blue. It's got like pastel pink and like, I don't know, cyan or magenta. I don't know. Beautiful colors, lime green. Make your DIY projects stand out with some colorful alligator clips. So coming soon.
Next up.
This is not coming soon, this is an updated product. We've stocked these relegendable keycaps, but then I found a supplier that was half the price, and so I now send you, instead of 5 in a pack, you get 10 in a pack. It's the same exact relegible keycaps that you take them apart, you can put whatever you want inside, snap them back together.
Twice as much for half the price.
Well, same price, twice as much, or half the price. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You get 10 instead of 5.
Yeah.
So great for your MacroPad projects or keypad projects where you want to have custom keycaps, and they're, you can go through them a little bit.
All right. Next up.
Okay. We've also got, this is a rotary encoder knob, but it's like a slim knob. We like the skirted style knobs, but I also got these as samples, and I thought they were quite nice, so I picked them up. So let's go to the overhead, and I can show and compare the two. So this is what we normally stock. This is skirted, so you can see there is like this little bit of like a overhang here. This one is much slimmer. It doesn't cover like the body of the rotary encoder, but maybe you don't want that. Maybe if you have a bank of these and you want a really slim type knob, these are like the slimmest knobs I could find, so you can see. Very svelte.
Okay. Next up.
We've also got, if you want to make custom kitty keypads, this silicone mold lets you make 6 kitty keypads for your Cherry MX keys. You don't have to make all 6 at a time. You get 6 slots because whatever, if one gets ripped or something, you're good to go. Or you can make 6 at a time. I do recommend, we have a couple of these types of keypad molds coming out. I definitely recommend using UV resin, not 2-part resin. I tried 2-part resin. It's like kind of a nightmare to use. Yeah, you can do it, but it requires a lot
UV
of
is
patience.
nice,
And it has to be the exact right temperature and the humidity and blah, blah, blah. Get the UV stuff. The UV stuff, it's a little bit more expensive, but when you use it, you just use a UV LED lamp, and it cured in like a minute and a half, and it looked great. So I recommend it. It's because these are so small, you can use UV curing resin and make custom keycaps, and you can design them. You can have colored resin. You can like put glitter in them, and of course they can be translucent because resin is transparent by default.
All right, and then we've got these cables. We're just going to go through these like really fast, right? Because
These
like
are
a ton.
JST-PH like pigtails, and you get the plug and the socket both sides. So it's great for making like little harnesses. These are JST-PH compatible. People know that we love these cables. Now we just have them if you want to use this type of cable, but it's like, cable to cable connector. Each order you get one of each, and we have them in 3, 4, 5, and 6 pin configurations.
Yeah, we have all the configurations you're going to need. We have a page that has them all and separate pages for each
Yes,
product.
and of course you can use these with the JST-PH cables you already have. They're compatible, but I do like them as like, these inline cable contacts. When you want, we have these for Pico Blade compatible. These are going to carry more current. I think they're 26 gauge.
All right, next up.
All right, so if you're going to make 60% keyboards, we've got a couple different plastic and metal shells for you. So after you make the PCB, you want to put an enclosure, and the enclosure is kind of like the annoying part because it like has to fit it very nicely, and you want it to be nice and sturdy, and it's hard to 3D print something this large. I mean, you can, but why not just get a shell? And so we've got a variety of shells, and these are all for the GH60 style mounting, sometimes like called Geek Hack 60. So we've got them in translucent smoke. We've got them in a opaque lavender, pink, purple, and we've got them in a translucent clear. There's 3 plastic ones, and then we also have one anodized aluminum, milled one that's like really, really nice and elegant. It's going to be more expensive, but it's also going to be heavier and flatter and more stable. If you're just starting out making keyboards, the plastic ones are going to be a lot cheaper and easy, and of course, if you want translucent, they're a great starter shell. 60% keyboards are a great starter size for DIY key making if you're making your own keyboard. These have a lot of space, and again, that standard mounting. So you can start with plastic and then upgrade to metal. And they all come with some assorted hardware and slip grip things that keep it from sliding around your desk.
All right, next up.
All right, next up from Citron, we've got 2 products. They've got this is kind of like an RP2040 board. It's called the MakerPi RP2040. It's got a lot of Grove connectors, and it's got motor controllers. It's kind of a nice all-in-one, do all sorts of things RP2040 board. The RP2040 is on the board itself. It's not like a Pico breakout, but you see there's motor drivers on the kind of top right, servo, Grove. So it's like robotics and automation projects, I think, would be a great pick, and it's like super cheap. So check it out. You can use, if you want to use our Stemma QT boards, we have a Grove to Stemma QT cable that would fit very nicely with this board. It comes with all this assorted hardware.
Next up.
Next up, we've got from the same company, this is the Citron Maker Pico. So you plug in your Raspberry Pi Pico onto it, and it kind of the same thing. It gives you like a buzzer and switches and buttons and audio output, SD card and Grove connectors. So it's like a nice inexpensive add-on that kind of gives you like a bento box of like every sort of little, hardware you might want to attach. Comes with a nice insert as well. I just thought like a great accessory. You'll have to solder headers onto your Raspberry Pi Pico, but after you've done that, you just plug in your Pico and you're ready to rock.
Okay, next up.
Okay. For people who've been doing a lot of stuff with Stemma and Stemma QT and quick boards, these are plug-and-play I2C sensors and devices, and people love them because it's fun to plug and play. However, I2C was not designed to be plug and play. It's actually meant to be on a circuit board where things don't get disconnected or like moved or shifted or unplugged and replugged. That said, once you make something pluggable, people are gonna plug it, right? I get that. So you can do that, but it's a little risky. Whenever you hot plug something like I2C that's not designed for hot plugging, there is a risk that you kind of destabilize the I2C connection. You can sometimes have an extra SCL pulse, or maybe you have a little bit of jitter, or like the capacitance to charge up the peripheral kind of, messes up the open drain connectors. It's because, again, it wasn't meant to be a plug-and-play system. We're kind of hacking that. But you can turn it into a plug-and-play system by using this, the TCA4307, which is a plug-and-play hot swap buffer for I2C. It's designed specifically for people like you and me who love to use and abuse and misuse the I2C protocol stack. You plug the inside into your controller. On the outside, you can plug whatever the heck you want, and it will keep the two apart until it's safe. And it has this cool thing called stuck bus recovery. So if it notices that the SCL or the SDA line is being held low, it'll disconnect the peripheral, and it'll try to clock it out to try to kind of like bring it back to life. I thought it was a kind of a neat chip. If you have this problem, this chip will solve it. If you don't have this problem, you're probably not misusing I2C, so keep doing that, because that's kind of the way to go. But if you do want that, this is an excellent little add-on, and of course no firmware required. You just plug it in between your hardware, and you're ready to rock.
All right, and the star of the show tonight, besides you, Ladyada, our community, our team, and our customers, is
the Ortho Snap Apart Neo Key 5x6 pad. I don't know, this has so many descriptors. This is neat because it's like the Neo Key breakout that we've got that people really like. But people are like, well, what if I want to make a matrix of them? Like, wouldn't it be cool if they were matrixed already for you? This is a pre-matrixed Neo Key setup. And it's basically designed for anybody who wants to make ortho linear or ortho basically gridded, right? It's an XY grid. It isn't like offset like most keyboards. You can use it for macro pads. You can use it for keyboards. It's 5x6. So it's a kind of like, not a full keyboard, but it's not so many that you're buying this huge thing you don't know what to do with. So it's 30 keys. It's got a nice in-between number, arranged 5x6, and it's snap apart, but in between the snap apart bits, there's little like traces that I put between them, so that it's all matrixed out, but you can snap it apart as you wish. So let's go to the overhead, because this is kind of a complicated product, but if you've done keyboard stuff, I think it's kind of self-explanatory. So let me get out here and focus. Lock. Okay, so this is what it looks like, and you can see through here the table. You can see like my hand. So there's a little snap apart things with holes. There's actually small holes you can't even see. So with a pair of pliers, you can snap this out from 5x6 to any grid you want. You can do 2x4. You can do like 1x6. You can do 4x5, 4x3, whatever you like. I recommend rectangular, but you don't have to do rectangular. It's just going to be annoying to wire if it's not. And there's 6 columns and 5 rows, and so you only have to connect to, one of the 5 rows and one of the 6 columns, because it's connected. Again, the rows and columns are connected through the little break apart tabs. So you can have a matrixed keypad. You only need 11 GPIO pins for this, and then each Neo Key has a diode. You can kind of barely see it, so it's ghost free. You don't have to worry about ghosting because each one is diode protected. And then each one also has a reverse mount NeoPixel. So this little NeoPixel is reverse mounted, so it shines out the top. And that's controlled by a single NeoPixel input line. And the NeoPixel input line snakes its way around through the entire grid. And using a resistor to kind of do a feed-through thing, if you snap it apart, like if I snapped this out, it would still work because it would just shunt down this way instead of going all the way around. Just trust me, it works. Only need one NeoPixel input, and you can control any part of the rectangular grid that you design. If you want to have it be non-rectangular, like if you want like a triangle, you can do that. Just be aware that you're going to have a lot of like weird like row key, like the row and column math, they're going to have to figure it out, and the NeoPixels, you might have to kind of do a couple jumper wires. So I recommend doing rectilinear. And then, of course, it's rotatable. So, in this case, because I have a north-facing LED button, so it's like a glow-through button, you'd want it to be upside down. It doesn't matter because it's fully symmetric either way. The only thing that's directional is the NeoPixel input. You want it to be there's little arrows on the back, so you want it to be in the input of the arrows. You can see these little arrows that snake through. Just go into the input, and you can make like your own custom macro pad or ortho keypad or split keyboard of whatever size and design you'd like. And just use any matrix keypad library code for this. We've got an Arduino library, and of course CircuitPython has support as well.
That's new products.
New.
Okay, cool. So don't forget, if it's in stock, use the code README, get 10% off. You get all that free stuff
Free.
as you fill up your cart. And then if you haven't gotten AdaBox, we have 20 or 30 less than we did when we started the show. So please consider
We will run out.
going to
We run
adabox.com.
out every year.
We do. So load up your questions. I already have some ready to go. We're going to do a little bit of top secret, then we're going to answer those questions. All right, from the vault.
What's in the vault?
From the vault, we're going to do the WebBLE video,
yeah.
and then I'm going to talk about squids. Okay, Ladyada, what is this?
Okay, let's show how you can use Web Bluetooth to wirelessly program Circuit Playground boards with NRF 52840 native Bluetooth. So press reset and then press again when it's blinking to put into Bluetooth mode. And then request the device, pair it. And now that we're connected, you see the REPL here? It's the same REPL here. As I type in this REPL, this one echoes. So I can print stuff and it appears on the display. So it's completely wirelessly connected. I can even go up, let's say, some simple printing. And then you can also do file management as well. So it's pretty neat. This is all completely wireless using Web Bluetooth. You can use with the latest version of CircuitPython using your NRF 52840 native Bluetooth boards.
Okay. Anywho, here is my ongoing quest.
Yeah, I have to finish the hardware for this.
Yeah. So these are the Trinkies, and I don't know which one we're gonna do. It's either gonna be a squid or an octopus. Then we had a different version of squid, and then folks are like, it has to have 2 longer arms. I'm like, you're right. And then they're like, it kind of looks like a Pope hat, and I'm like, you're right. And so this is where we ended up with the squid. And then here's the orca.
I like the orca.
Here's the panda.
I think like orcas they're kind of bloodthirsty killers, so they often get a bad rap. But I
Yeah.
think they're cool. They're
So
beautiful.
we're gonna figure that out. But anyways, back in the bin for you. Okie dokie, question time. I got a bunch lined up.
Okay. Ask me some questions and we're gonna jam through them.
All right, let me just grab these before I start
Okay.
going through all of them. First one, is there a project idea that you're too intimidated to try to start?
No, I just need time to get them all done.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I think things that are medical related or things that like people consume, those are a little intimidating because there's so many other things like certifications and safety and
Well,
stuff.
I don't do. I mean,
But we don't do those.
I
But
just
I'm saying
do
those are the ones I'd be intimidated by. Things with like lenses and optics, I think I'd be a little intimidated by that.
lens and optics.
Okay.
Scary.
Is there advantage or disadvantage to having the Oshawa logo on devices? I've seen some things that have it and some don't. I would say do it. Only
Why
because
not?
you can register your hardware. It does give you a symbol of the intention of the designer, and I think that's really the whole point. So
Yeah.
when in doubt, if you want people to know it's open source hardware,
I love seeing
do
it
it.
on boards. I think it's a really good way of signaling your intent, of signaling the
Yeah.
design, and it's not like it's going to make it more likely or less likely that your board's going to be like cloned or whatever. It's just if you have pride that you did open source hardware, show it off.
So someone said Octopanda, but I feel like if I do that, the GitHub folks won't like us anymore
No.
because that'll be too close to OctoCat.
I think
Anyways.
I think Panda is
Yeah.
cool. It doesn't need
Okay. Have you ever looked at using chemistry in projects, be it for trying to create batteries or accomplish some goal that can't be done electrically or mechanically? We had a kid's video on how to make a lemon battery.
Yeah, check that out.
That's about as far as we'll go with that. Does Adafruit make the PCBs in-house or have them made elsewhere and shipped in for assembly? We have them made somewhere else. You can check out our resource page. We use companies like Advanced Circuits, stuff like that.
DK Red from DigiKey is also available for short run. There's also
Yep.
Oshpark. But making PCBs is a chemical process. You don't want to do it.
Is it okay to use Arduino for Feather hardware and software in something that you sell? Is there anything to need to do with Disperse? No, we make all the libraries for
As
it.
long as the library, I mean, just be aware, if the code that you're putting in is not licensable for sale, just make sure of that. Just Arduino is the language, but if you're using Arduino libraries, you'll just want to make sure that those libraries
That's a good point.
okay with being used in a commercial product. 99% of them are, but
Yeah.
it's worth it
If you're
to
using
check.
Adafruit libraries, are fine.
Yeah.
Just to cut to the chase. Okay, question for the show. The TCA 307 hot swap I2C buffer, is it possible with Arduino code to query if the device is in fact attached to I2C wiring? The reason would be to code to check for wiring before use error message.
Yes, there's actually a ready pin, and it will tell you. You can query that, and it will tell you if the thing is connected on the other side, and if it's valid.
Okay. What's your prediction of the chip shortages going forward?
I think it's still going to be bad for at least 6 months, but I think after 6 months it'll start to hopefully
Okay.
chill out. Although I'm starting to see some parts come back, but with totally bonkers pricing and through official disties, which is like a little disappointing. It's like, I know how much this part costs. You guys basically, you're selling it for 10 times the cost through an official distributor. Kind of not cool, but it's what it is.
Okay. Will you be getting any more of the NEMA 23 motors in, or are they history?
No, we have some.
Okay. Do you have a favorite magazine cover that you've been on?
No, I like this one. It's good.
Yeah, we put these in the background today because we were doing some filming.
The cover's good.
Yeah. I like so there's an article, and I don't have a copy of it, and it was when you first started your business, you were in like the free magazine that they used to put in the train. Remember that?
Like a rival or something?
Yeah, it was like called Arrival, and it was the official magazine of Amtrak.
Yeah.
And that was like your first ink. They're just like, woman makes kits at home.
Yeah.
It was like a big
I
story.
was in like Tech Review too, not on the
Yeah,
cover.
but I think that's when you know.
Arrival. I arrived.
I like those.
Or was it like Northwest Airlines? I don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
All right, let's.
Okay, I think that is. We cannot. Long Furby is a good one, JP.
Is that again, or is that?
Was that an AI thing that was made? Like,
even
you can't tell
tell.
anymore. Yeah, we can't give any AdaBox hints, but
It's going to be electronics.
I think you'll like it, and I think you might. I think a lot of folks already know.
Here's
it
a
is.
big hint. It's electronics and it runs CircuitPython.
That's a good hint. All right, let me just
Here's
see if
another
there's
hint. All of them are electronics run CircuitPython.
Yeah. Is there any way to program, for example, an Arduino without a PC? A little hard.
Yeah, I don't think.
Working on how to program with CircuitPython for mobile devices. Then you can use any phone.
You need a computer. You need a Mac or Windows or Linux computer.
Yeah.
It's really hard without.
All right. Is Adafruit going to finish looking at the Python stuff for CircuitPython like MicroPython? Does it, and will she look at Visual Studio Code and CircuitPython as editor environment? Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing about IDEs and CircuitPython. You can use any IDE and just have your working directory
Yeah.
be the drive.
It just works.
You do not need to do anything special, and then you can have a serial monitor in another window.
Yeah.
It does not have to be integrated to the IDE. It is designed specifically so no special IDE is needed. I use XEmacs.
I think we're all
And, like,
I think we're all
Macom.
damaged. We're all damaged thinking that like you have to do something special or sign an NDA or download this special thing. You could just use it as, but we also have a guide that we're coming out with that'll help you out as well. All right, and then last one, any plans to work with the ESP32 C2 now that modules are available, currently out of stock at DigiKey?
I've not really looked at it, to be honest. We're quite busy. with existing stuff.
Okay.
All right, let's walk
That
out.
are
Thanks, everybody.
the questions for this week. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us this week. Special thanks to Takara behind the scenes and the Slacks and more. Don't forget the code is README, 10% off in the Adafruit store all the way up until when I turn it off, which is going to be probably in about an hour or so. Adabox.com, go there now. Sign up for Adabox. Trust me, you'll like it. It'll be a lot of fun.
Everyone likes them all. They're all good. They're all good boxes.
And we'll see everybody next week. Thank you so much for making this a great hour together. Thanks for tuning into our shows and more. This has been an Adafruit production. Here's your moment of Zener.
Bye, everybody.